Okay, question number 1. Rewrite using addition. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down my rules so that I can remember what my rules are, and I'll write them off to the side. So if I see a plus plus, I know that's going to turn into a plus. If I see a minus minus, it's going to turn into a plus as well because of the same signs. If I see a plus minus together, I know that's going to turn into a minus. If I see a minus plus, that's also going to turn into a minus because the signs are different. So those are my rules right there. So rewrite using addition. So the first sign always stays the same. So I'm going to rewrite that as plus 6. Now minus plus 4, that's going to turn into a negative. So if it turns into a negative, if you look at what turns into a negative here, I can have either plus minus or minus plus. So I can go I can have it both ways, which means I can essentially switch these signs here and it will make no difference. So because if you look at it, we are going to know that plus 6 minus plus 4 is going to be plus 6 minus 4 in the end. So I could switch that around and say plus minus 4, because when we have a plus and followed by a minus, I know that's going to turn into a minus. So it's still going to be plus 6 minus 4. Let's look at another one. Down below, minus 2, first term stays the same, minus 3. Well, that's easy because minus minus equals plus, so we'll just change that to plus 3. And if we were to solve that, we would know that our answer would be positive 1. Let's look at E. I guess we're skipping and going down, so the first term stays the same, plus 1. Minus plus, we know, can switch around and turn to plus minus. Makes no difference. Either way, when we finish the answer, our plus and minus are going to turn into a minus. And in this case, plus 1 minus 1 is 0. Let's look at B. First term stays the same, minus 5. Then we have a minus and a plus, which we can switch to a plus and then minus. And if we were to solve that, it would be minus 5. And then when we see a plus and a minus together, we turn it into a minus. And minus 5 and then minus another 4 is going to give us minus 9. And D, plus 4, first term stays the same. Minus minus turns into positive. So plus 4 plus 2 is positive 6. And finally F, plus 1 minus minus 1 minus minus turns into a plus. So we have plus 2. Let's look at number 2. Use a number line to subtract. We're going to skip the using colored tiles. So we have plus 2. So we start at 0 and we go plus 2 to the right. Subtract positive 1. Well, I'm going to rewrite that. So how do I rewrite this? I have a minus plus, so I'm going to have plus 2, and when I have different terms, minus and plus, it turns into a negative. So I'm really solving plus 2 minus 1. So then I go minus 1, and that is going to equal to plus 1 because that's where I end up over here. Let's go to the next one. Plus 4. So I start at 0. I go to positive 4. Now I have minus minus. Well, we know that that turns into positive. So that's really plus 4 plus another 3. So that's going to leave me at positive 7. And finally C, minus 4. So from 0 I'm going to go to the left, minus 4. And what do I have here is my two terms. I have negative negative. So that really is minus 4 plus 1. So the plus 1 will go to the right and leave me at minus 3. And that's number 2. Number 3. Oh, we've got more in 2. We've got minus 5. And then we have minus plus, so that's going to be minus 2. So we're going to go minus 5, and then another minus 2, which will leave us at minus 7. E, we start at minus 2. I'm going to rewrite my question as minus 2. Now I have a minus minus, so I'm going to be adding 6. So this time I'm going to go to the right, 2, 4, and 6, which will leave me at positive 4. Right, so I did minus 2, and then I'm actually going to add 6. And finally F, we'll go negative 3, minus 3 to the left, then we have minus minus, so that's really plus. So I'm going to go to the right now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's going to take me to positive 4. Now that finishes off number 2. Let's go to number 3. Reverse the order of the integers in question 2, then subtract. So I'm just going to do A, B, and C for this part. See if I can make this a little bit larger. There we go. And we had plus 2 minus plus 1. So it says to reverse the order. So to reverse the order, we're going to make it plus 1 minus plus 2. Just switch the order around. Well, we would write that as plus 1, and then we have minus and plus together, which is going to be different signs, so that means plus 1 minus 2. So plus 1 and then minus 2, which will leave us at negative 1 for A. For B, we're going to switch them around, so that means the negative 3 will go first, and then we'll keep the negative sign in the middle, and the positive 4 will go as our second term. We're just going to switch, right? So the negative 3 comes to the first, and our positive 4 goes second. Now let's rewrite it. First term stays the same, minus 3. Then we had a minus and a plus. That's going to turn negative into negative 4. So we go 0 down 3, so negative 3, and then down another 4, which brings us to negative 7. And finally C. Let's switch our terms around. So we'll have minus 1 in the front, and we'll have minus 4 second, and subtraction sign between them. Well, we're going to rewrite that as minus 1. First term stays the same. Minus minus turns into a plus. So minus 1. So minus 1, and then plus 4. That will bring us to positive 3. So let's see how that compares. We had for A minus 1, for B minus 7, and for C plus 3. Let's go back and see what we had over here. We had plus 1, plus 7, minus 3. So plus 1, plus 7, minus 3. So it looks like the opposite. What we had before was plus 1, plus 7, and we had plus 3. Did we really have plus 3? Would that be... Let's take a look back. Oh, no, we had minus 3. Which would make sense that we would be negatives. So we had minus 3. Let's fix that. So it's opposite. So when we have subtraction and we reverse the order of the integers and we're subtracting, our answers are going to be the opposite sign. Same integer, 1, same number rather, 7, 7, 3, 3, just opposite sign. So for number 5, find the difference between a temperature of positive 3, so we start with positive 3 is going to be our first term. Difference means minus, and minus 5. We're going to look at the difference. Well, we can rewrite that as positive 3 minus minus, same sign, turns into positive. So we're simply adding 3 plus 5, which means the answer is positive 8. And that makes sense. If we had a thermometer here, and we had plus 3 over here, and we had minus 5 over here, and we said, what's the difference between these two? Well, there's 3 degrees above 0 here, and there's 5 degrees below 0 here, so the difference between the two is clearly 3 plus 5 or 8. Let's look at the difference between minus 15, so minus 15, and minus 10. So I write my two integers first, and I'm looking at the difference, so I'm subtracting. So I can rewrite that as minus 15 minus minus turns into plus 10. So minus 15 plus 10 is actually going to be minus 5. And that makes sense because if it was minus 15 yesterday and today is minus 10, it's a 5-degree difference. An elevation, C, an elevation of 5 meters above sea level and one of 2 meters below sea level. So 5 meters above sea level would be indicated by plus 5, and 2 meters below is minus 2. And we want to know the difference between them, so that's subtracting. So plus 5, we have a minus minus, which turns into a plus, plus 2. The difference is going to be 7 meters. And that makes sense again. If we draw this, and let's say this is sea level here, which is 0, and we had one elevation at 5 meters, and one was negative 2 meters, well, the difference between 0 and 5 is plus 5, and the difference between 0 and minus 2 is also plus 2. So it's 7 meters distance between the two. And D, a golf score of 1 below par would be minus 1, and 1 of 3 below, so that's minus 3. Below par is just a word they use in golf. You don't really need to know what it means, except that we're talking about below, which would mean minus. We're looking at the difference, so that's minus. So minus 1 minus minus 3 is going to be minus 1 plus 3, which will end up being plus 2. And finally, number 6. The table shows the average afternoon temperatures in January and April for 4 Canadian cities. Find the difference between the temperatures in April and January for each city. So we're going to go one city at a time. So we'll look at Calgary first, that's A, and we're looking at the difference. So we start minus 4, subtract plus 13. I'm going to write them all out. Minus 22, this is for Iqaluit, I don't know how to pronounce that. So minus 22, subtract minus 10. I'll put the first integer in brackets as well. For Toronto, minus 3 in January, subtract positive 12 in April. And in Victoria, positive 7, subtract positive 13. I'm going to rewrite all of those down here. So for A, minus 4 minus plus 13 turns into minus 13, which will end up equaling minus 17. If we use a number line, you could figure it out that way as well. For B, we have minus 22. This time we have minus minus. That turns into a plus, so plus 10. That will leave me with minus 12. For C, we have minus 3 minus plus 12, so that's going to be minus 12, which will be minus 15. And D, plus 7 minus plus 13, which would be minus 13, because we have a minus and then a plus. So 7 minus 13, that'll leave us at minus 6 degrees. So question number 7 says, use patterns to subtract. Subtract plus 2 minus minus plus 5. So we're going to start with the pattern. Plus 6 minus plus 5 equals plus 1. So continue the pattern. We're going to go plus 5 now. We're going to get all the way down to plus 2 is what they want us to do. So we're going to basically go like this all the way till we get to plus 2, because we can see that the minus plus 5 is the same. The second part is the same for every single one. We want to see if there's a pattern. Well, we know that plus 5 minus plus is going to be minus 5. So it's always going to change to minus 5. So we're just going to rewrite everything changing to minus 5, because minus plus is always going to be minus. And now we can see this is equal to 0, and then we have minus 1, minus 2, and so the next one is going to be equal to minus 3, and that's our pattern right there. So you can use the same idea here to look at 7b and 7c. We're going to skip number 8, and we're going to go straight to number 9. This table shows I'm going to get my calculator out. The mean daily maximum temperatures in degrees Celsius for Rankine Inlet for each month. What is the median? The median is the middle, so we've got to put these in order from smallest temperature or lowest temperature to highest. So I'll start with January, so minus 28. February, cross that off, minus 28. The next is going to be December at minus 24. Then we have March at minus 23. Then we have November at minus 16. Then we go to April for minus 12. Then October, minus 3. May, minus 2. September, plus 6. June, plus 8. The next warmest is August, and then July at plus 16. So now we've got all of them. We need to find the middle one. So we should have 12 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is our 6th term, and this is our 7th term. So those are our middle terms because we have an even number. We have 12 numbers here. So our 6th and 7th term, the average of those two is going to be our median. So to get the median, we have to take minus 12, and we have to add it to minus 3, and then divide that by 2. Well, minus 12 stays the same. Then we have plus minus 3, so that turns into a negative. I'll rewrite that again. So minus 12 and then minus another 3 means minus 15 over 2. And if we get a calculator, that'll be minus 7.5. So our median is going to be minus 7.5 degrees Celsius. The range is going to be the largest, the lowest temperature, which is going to be, so the range equals the lowest temperature. I'll just write temp, subtract the highest temperature. So our lowest temperature is minus 28, and we're going to subtract our highest temperature, which was plus 16. So let's just move up. I'm going to continue on the right here. I'm going to rewrite the first term, which always stays the same, and then I've got a minus plus, which turns into minus. So it's minus 28 minus 16. So I'm going to go 28 left on the number line and continue another 16 down. So that'll leave me at minus 44 degrees. So our range, you could say, is minus 44 or plus 44. Either way, a range actually isn't positive or negative. A range is just a number. So our range would actually be 44 degrees Celsius. That's our range. That's the difference between the lowest and the highest. And finally, for C, what's the mode? The mode is the temperature that shows up the most. Let's take a look here. Well, it looks like it's minus 28 because we see minus 28 in January and February, so that's going to be our mode. Number 10, I'm just going to do maybe one of these questions. I don't want to really do more than one. So let's do E. We've got 3 integers together, so it's a different situation than before. We can leave our first one the same, plus 10. Basically, we do 2 integers at a time. So we either do the first 2 or the last 2. I'm going to do the last 2. So I'm going to leave the minus there, and I'm going to leave the plus 3. And I'm only going to focus on changing this last integer here. I've got a minus minus, which I know turns into a plus 5. So I'm going to continue with my plus 10. I'm going to leave my minus there. Then I'm going to do this part next. So I have plus 3 plus 5, which is going to give me plus 8. Then I have 10 plus 10 minus plus 8. That's the same as minus 8. So positive 10 minus 8 is going to be positive 2.